Like you said, he's got 3 rings, right? And just to clarify, none of those rings are with Toronto, right?
Is Fraser Minton going to have more points than Slavkovsky this year? Fraser Minton sucks at hockey. This guy might not even be an NHLer, so we got to settle down on that one.
Adelaide, no. Minus 160 on will they show her holding a drink in her hand.
They are 2 points behind the St. Louis Blues in the wild card, and they are.
Oh, the Blues are dog water. The Blues suck. The Blues are the worst of those 4 teams that I mentioned by a mile.
And
they're not a good hockey team.
Care, like have some set of balls, have some response, have some pride for what the hell goes on the ice. It's so absurd.
I'm looking forward to the parade, but that's going to be later in the year.
I'd rather have so money in that than have Alber Soderblom. I would rather stack a bunch of garbage that I have in the corner of my room over here than have Alber Soderblom in that. He's
May 1st, welcome back to Edgework, presented by Pinnacle. I'm Zack Phillips, joined here today by Matt Alber, Alex B. Smith. Bit of a different cast. Moretto and Rob couldn't be here today because they're currently downtown Toronto bolting their chairs to the parade routes. I've heard that the belief is back, and I think Rob has assigned Moretto chair duty, so that's what they're up to today. That's why they couldn't be here, but the three of us, we will break down the 2 games here coming up today, give out best bets, talk about where the prices are currently sitting at, as well as talk a little bit about what went on around the league last night. But before we can get into any of that, I want to remind people, if you haven't already, make sure to sign up at Pinnacle Sportsbook. Pinnacle is the world's sharpest sportsbook. You can find out what professional bettors have known for decades. Pinnacle is where the best bettors play. You must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Remember, it's not available in the U.S. 25 years Pinnacle has been in business. Make sure to head on over there. As we pull up these games today, you're going to see for both of them, on whether it's sides or totals, Pinnacle will have the best price on a lot of those numbers. So make sure to check out Pinnacle Sportsbook when you sign up and make sure it's in your list of outs. Alex B., last night, the Winnipeg Jets get closed out by the Colorado Avalanche. I was looking at that one pretty shocked that, Connor Hellebuyck had allowed as many goals as he had each game in that series. We obviously know that Colorado is capable of putting up a lot of goals, capable of creating a lot of offense, but it didn't feel like they were going to be able to solve Connor Hellebuyck to that degree. Your gripe is not necessarily with the goaltending. You're looking elsewhere within that organization right this morning.
Yeah, at this point, when you look back at the last 2 postseasons for the Winnipeg Jets, you've had high hopes heading into the playoffs against their respective opponents, the Vegas Golden Knights last year, Colorado Avalanche this year. You win game 1, get momentum on your side, and then you go out and lose the next 4 games. That happens once. Okay, Rick Bowness, head coach, called out the team last year. It happens again. Maybe that's not on the team. Maybe that's on you as a coach and your staff, and not making the proper adjustments in game, not making proper adjustments between games. And, I know Bowness has gone through a lot this season. He's had some family issues, had to step away from the team at times like this. But there's something missing there with him leading this team in the playoffs and getting them ready for the postseason. You can be a great regular season coach all you want, but if you can't get things done in the best of 7 series, maybe it's time for you to go elsewhere. Maybe the Winnipeg Jets need to find a new head coach. I don't think Bowness is going to be the answer with this group, especially with the guys you have signed long-term, like Connor Hellebuyck, who, a guy who's seen a lot of games in net now. We talked about how Georgiev might have been a guy who could have been kind of tired heading into the series. Maybe Connor Hellebuyck's one of these guys where he should be playing 60-plus games during the regular season. We've seen him kind of wear down now in a couple of playoff series moving forward.
Now, I think it's kind of interesting the way that series played out, because I picked the Avs. I did ahead of time. The arguments that were laid out by a lot of people across the Edgework show for the Jets, even not necessarily to win, but just to kind of push that series along, make it a more drawn out battle. It seemed like it was going to be a problem of depth. Like, we were going to see a lot of depth. We were going to see maybe some lower scoring games, and we were going to see Georgiev be an issue on the other end for this Avalanche team to kind of have to combat against the Jets, where you're going to go up against Connor Hellebuyck, a Vezina caliber goaltender. You're not going to be able to score a lot of goals, and you've got a guy going into the series who we all basically thought was, a shooter-tutor back there, and yet that kind of seems to not be the case, and it just felt strange that this was such a dominant series. Yeah. I'm curious, Alex, your thoughts on just how the Avalanche, how you kind of interpret the Avalanche being able to take control of this series, even when it came to the depth. Like, yeah, you can look at the upper tier guys, the top 6 guys there, but like there was not much ability for the Jets team to take advantage of the bottom 6 of the Avs. Is that where you're kind of looking at saying this is coaching? Is this personnel when it comes to that kind of stuff? What are your thoughts there?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. The depth certainly favored Colorado as far as offense goes. But when you look at the blue lines, really neither blue line played that great. There were lots of breakdowns. You look at just go back and go over the goals in this series at both ends. There was a lot of defensemen caught out of position. And that's a problem, certainly if you're Winnipeg, where you can't just run and gun and you don't have the horses that can score consistently like Colorado. But that's now a problem for Colorado, and something to look forward to if you're a Dallas or Vegas fan. Cale Makar getting a little bit banged up. Of course, he's gonna have time to rest now, but that's a piece they cannot afford to lose if you're the Avalanche, because Georgiev had to stand on his head and make some big time saves because those blue liners in front still weren't really helping him out at times, and that's also what led to the outbursts of goals in the one game that the Jets did win.
Alber, is there a certain spot that you're pinpointing in this series as something that went wrong for the Jets? Is this something that you kind of look at the other way and just say, hey, a lot went right for the Avalanche. They were able to get things done in these aspects of the game, and the Jets just weren't able to kind of combat that?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, obviously, goaltending was a huge part of it, right? But I think almost maybe game one kind of woke the Avs up a little bit and kind of said, like, hey, and especially Georgiev, right? He kind of got the stinker out of the way. And I think he kind of saw him be a little more focused the rest of the series, kind of after what happened. And at the same time, like, the star players for the Avs just took over. And I think they kind of hit a level that, like, we all know they could hit, that the Jets just weren't able to match. And, like, to me, the Jets have been the most disappointing team in the first round, right? Like, this was a team that was near the top of the West pretty much the entire regular season, up until I think like the second to last week of the regular season. Like, they were favored to win the division for most of it. And to kind of go out in the first round in 5 games again after all, like, this team is different after the big trade over the summer, like, it felt like maybe they had a run in them. So being out in the first round in 5 games again, like, I know we kind of talked about like what's going to happen if the Leafs were to have lost last night, and obviously we'll get into that. But like, I don't know how you run it back with the same Jets core after kind of how they looked against the Avs, because it was certainly deserved that they lose. Like, it wasn't like they just got unlucky or that it was only goaltending was why they're out. Like, they got thoroughly outplayed in the entire series.
Right. Alex, what do you think about that roster and running it back?
I mean, like I said, they got a lot of guys that they're kind of tied to. Most notably, like I said, with the contracts with Connor Hellebuck. So that's something you have to think. Who is your anchor now? You maybe you build this team from the outside out. You have Kyle Connor tied in long term, Mark Scheifele long term. Those are obviously your key pieces. But there are a lot of pieces that you could move, guys that will be UFAs in the next year or two. So that's something that maybe they take a retool approach next season, where it's not a full rebuild. You don't tear everything down, but maybe you're not as competitive next season, and you make some trades, and then you kind of gear up for another run, which I think would kind of maybe lead to possibly a coaching change as well, because obviously you need personnel to match with the coaching. So, yeah, we might see a bit of a retooling for Winnipeg in the next year or so.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the point, sorry, Zach, I think to the point on Hellebuck, like, we've talked about this numerous times about how goalies can just be so, I guess, high variance kind of in small sample sizes. And like, I think if you're running it back, like, I certainly have faith in Hellebuck, right? Like, he was great for the better part of 82 games or however many he played this year. Like, I'm not necessarily worried that he kind of had 5 stinkers in April against an elite scoring team. I think the bigger worry for the Jets maybe, and I forget who tweeted this last night, I saw it from somebody, like, the top players on the Jets just don't play defense at all. Like, Scheifele's never played any defense. Obviously, they got rid of Wheeler at the end of last year. Like, Kyle Connor's not a good defensive forward. Like, you got all these guys, and I think it's kind of not the best example, I guess, when your top players are only kind of playing one side of the puck. So, like, that, I think that's the bigger issue for the Jets is, like, can they kind of get the full team to buy in? Because you saw it in the series that they just, like, they were basically trying to play every game like game one. I forget what the final score of that game ended up being, but they were basically trying to play every game like that. And against a team that can bury chances and has those elite kind of offensive scores like the Avs do, I mean, that's just not going to work in the playoffs.
All right, let's keep moving here from a couple games last night. I mean, I think that the Hurricanes Islanders series, no disrespect to the Islanders, but that's kind of where we had seen that one going. That one gets wrapped up there. As for some of the other ones last night, the Canucks letting the Preds stay alive. Not able to clean that one up there. And Alber, you've got some thoughts on Shilovs, as you had recently discovered how to enunciate his name here before the show. What's going on with the Canucks, and why are these Preds able to stay alive right now?
Yeah, I give Moretto a lot of crap out here for mispronouncing names, and meanwhile, I don't think I've pronounced this guy's name right once the entire season. And I think it was Rob who touched on this on a show before. I think it was actually with Shilovs. There we go, first time for everything. That they just play so differently in front of him, and teams play so differently in front of these backup goalies and third string goalies a lot of times. And it's like the Canucks during the season, like you could visibly see that they were happy to kind of trade chances with some teams. In this series, they're just generating zero offense. Like it just looks like when you watch them, they're kind of so afraid of giving up all these good chances to a team, because I don't think they necessarily trust that they'll be able to get those saves that they would out of a Demko or even a DeSmith. Like I was looking at it, and kind of they're averaging like a goal and a half less expected per game right now than they did during the regular season, and only giving up a little bit less. So they're clearly like trying to play, it looks like, kind of this like slower, more defensive style. It's just kind of playing into Nashville's hands with Saros. And I think they're kind of like, even though the Canucks obviously lead in the series, like this could easily be the other way, especially after kind of the way that game 4 ended. Like Nashville easily could be up 3-2 going back home right now. So I think I'm kind of very curious to see, like, will the Canucks maybe change the style and go, hey, we need to find a way to generate a little more offense on Saros, because like one goal last night, not going to get it done. I think they had one goal in game 2, not going to get it done. Until the very end, the other night, they had one goal. So it's like they got to find a way to generate a little more offense, because this just isn't working against Nashville at this point.
Alex, you're among the group of people here on the Edgework team who are also annoyed with the Preds' ability to hang around right now. What's going on, in your opinion, in that series?
Yeah, I mean, they're just a frustrating team overall, because we've seen flashes of brilliance from them throughout the year, but then at the same time, they just never really consistently doing something well, or consistently playing bad enough to where we can go, oh, we just fade them, and then they just fall out of favor as well. So like I said, it's a back and forth battle now, and obviously the series it's going to go 6, it could go to a 7th game, and you have to kind of wonder where the edges lay with these two teams. Obviously, to see Vancouver do what they've done, first team in NHL history to win 3 playoff games with 3 different goaltenders in a series. But if she lost, he looked solid. It wasn't his fault that they lost that game. But you wonder now, does the pressure mount with him, knowing that if he doesn't get another victory here, we could be talking about a game 7 going back to Vancouver, which now even more pressure and stress. So that's the thing, is which team is built now to weather the storm of the next couple of games.
All right.
Sorry, Zach, one more point. So like just one more thing kind of on the She Loves point. See, I struggle with that one. Like game 1 had over 6 expected goals in it. Game 2 had right around 6. Game 3, he comes in, it had like 3.6. Game 4, it didn't have a lot until kind of the very end of the game, and then obviously had a little bit of overtime. Last night had under 4. So it's like it's clearly just kind of this different style of game that it feels like the Canucks think they have to play. And they've lost 2 out of 3 games doing it. So I'm kind of curious to see, like, they've lost 2 games since he came in doing it. Like, I'm curious to see if they change this up, because it doesn't seem to be working at this point. Nashville just kind of seems to be way too comfortable as you watch it play out.
Well, and here's the thing too, right? With Demko at the beginning, they knew that they could trust on him. This is a guy who, Vezina quality goaltender. And so they're able to play a bit more free-flowing, press more offensively. When it was DeSmith and now Shilovs, now I feel like this team has to tighten up a little bit more, and that takes away from the offense. And it's interesting. You look at the assistant coach of the team, Mike Yeo. Think about when he was the head coach with the Minnesota Wild. Their crutch with all the offensive talent they used to have back in the day was, if they had a game where they got blown out, then the next game they would really tighten up on their defense, and then they lose a game 3-2 or 2-1 because they weren't generating any offensive chances. I think we're starting to see that kind of system maybe kind of creep up a little bit as well with Vancouver. The chances that they're getting are different because they're being more mindful defensively because they don't trust in their goal as much as they did their starter in Demko.
They certainly don't trust him more, but he's actually been pretty solid, which is why I look at it and I say, like, look, you're kind of going away from what's worked for you for a lot of the year. Your goalie's been okay. Like, look, at some point you have to trust him.
Right.
And clearly your opponent's comfortable with this style that you're trying to adapt. Like, I think you've seen enough out of him where it's like, okay, he's obviously not Demko. Like, he's obviously a big downgrade, but he's been okay. So it's like, maybe you got to try to open it up a little bit.
And at this point, you have the 3-2 series lead. Yeah, let the horses go. Because if he can't stop them in Game 6, then you're probably going to end up losing Game 7 anyway. So, yeah, I agree. Go for broke and trust in your goalie and get that offense rolling a bit more in Game 6.
Someone slamming his keyboard right now, hearing you say that if this thing goes to 7, then it's over.
I'm gonna.
I know. I hate it too. As somebody with Canucks futures, I hate to say that, but that's the way it looks right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
I need to wrap it up.
So Money might be slamming his keyboard, but if you're watching right now, you should be slamming the like button. Hit the like button, subscribe here to the channel, turn on notifications so you get notified every single time that we go live to break things down. I give out best bets as well as do our series previews and predictions. But we do appreciate everyone who tuned in. Final game last night that we'll take a quick recap of here. Alex B, I want to go to you first because you showed up and your title at the bottom of the screen there says Leafing to the bank. What do you make of this Leafs team extending the series, at least going back to 6, back to Toronto for tonight's games, or for tomorrow's game, and keeping this thing alive?
Well, I'm absolutely thrilled by it because the way that I bet this before the series was that I don't care who wins the series. I don't know who's going to win this series. All I need is for this thing to go to 6 to 7 games. So I had a series of bets of series to end in 6, series to end in 7, both at plus 200. I have now Bruins 4-2 to win the series, plus 550. I have a Bruins 4-3 ticket and a Leafs 4-3 ticket. So whatever happens, it shakes out from this point on, I will be collecting some kind of profit. So I am very happy that Toronto was able to weather the storm, get that win in overtime, and now we've got a series that's still wide open.
Alber, do you believe here now? Is this reinstilled in you? You feel like they've got life? This can be done?
I mean, I think the best way to put it is the way you kind of did when we were chatting before we got on, right? Like, the Leafs played a very good game last night. They frankly deserved the outcome that they got. But I don't think anyone would be telling the truth if they said they trust that the Leafs are going to do this again in Game 6, let alone in Game 7. Like, they're so inconsistent. And yeah, they could play like this and win the series. And I certainly hope they do. It's just the inconsistency. So I think it's kind of hard to know what you're going to get out of them in Game 6. But again, like what I was saying yesterday, if you like the Leafs, you may as well kind of hope they win another game because now, again, you got another game under Nylander. I thought he looked a little better last night than he did in Game 4. Maybe you get Austin Matthews back. Like I still feel like there's more going on there than what's necessarily coming out, or at least anything that I've seen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's hard not to kind of like their chances to maybe extend this out a little more. I think they're not questions about Swayman, but I think there's certainly questions about who plays in Game 6. Like, I tend to think it might be Ullmark in Game 6. We obviously kind of saw the emergency recall they made late last night, which kind of raised a lot of eyebrows as to did Swayman maybe get hurt at some point in that game. So there are a lot of questions. Game 6 will be a lot of fun as long as you're not a Leaf fan.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be
or a Bruin fan for that matter. I mean, look what happened last year. They blew a 3-1 lead to Florida. There's got to be creeping in their minds as well. And that team, this doubt of, we've let this team back in again. Here we go again. So it's not a cakewalk for either side at this point.
I just feel bad for Moretto not being able to come on here and talk about this because I know he's dying to talk about this series right now.
Yeah. I mean, last thing I'll say to wrap up the recap is like, I believe that they can win, but I mean, Alber, you kind of put it there perfectly. Is like, I don't trust that they will. And of course, this Leafs team, why would they not win game 6 and push it to 7 and then just make it the most dramatic thing possible? Take a lead in the third period and fuck around and see if they can hold on to it or if they'll blow it just for old time's sake. That's why would they not do that? It feels from take numbers, take betting, take it all aside, the narrative of this team, it feels like that's the direction that we're headed. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm interested to watch how the numbers move as we get to tomorrow's games, but we'll break those all down tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. As for today, we've got 2 games on the schedule. Let's start here in Dallas, where we're heading back there for game 5 of the series. These Stars are minus 152. The Golden Knights plus 140 here right now. And we see totals of 5.5 to the over. We see minus 125 starting to creep into that 6 range, plus money on the over 6 right now. Alber, what are your thoughts with where this one is currently sitting at? This series tied 2-2. I know that there was investment from pretty much every single person across the board on the Edgework team going into this. Do you see an opportunity to reinvest tonight?
I don't personally. I'm also among the rooting for Dallas here. I don't really want to double dip here. It's kind of one of those where, like, when we were getting a cheap price on the Stars on the road, I'm a little happier to lay that than I necessarily am kind of minus 150 at home. Obviously kind of seeing that home ice hasn't really mattered all that much in this series. Like, I don't know. I'm certainly not kind of running to back Vegas, especially the way that they've kind of gotten dominated in basically the entire series. But I'm certainly not kind of running to lay a minus 150 here on Dallas tonight. So I will be rooting for Dallas. I'm going to pass this number.
Alex B, any interest from you?
Yeah, I got a small play on the first period puck line, laying the half a goal with Dallas. If they're going to turn the tide of this series, which, like I said, has been an all-road series so far, they have to jump out early. Use the crowd advantage. Use the time advantage, too. Notice it's a 7:30 Eastern start. That's 4:30 Eastern, or 4:30 Pacific, I should say. An internal body clock time for Vegas. A little different of just kind of a weird start. Maybe there's a little bit of energy more on the Dallas side being at home in that spot early in the contest. So at that big of a plus price, I'll take a shot there. There's a half unit for Dallas first period puck line.
Half unit. Dallas first period puck line plus 163. We'll lock in as our first bet of the show here today. Continue to move on. We will recap all the bets at the very end of the show here, and you can find them all in the BetStamp app in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ as well. Last game that we'll take a look at, the Kings Oilers going head to head. The Oilers minus 184 on home ice here. The Kings plus 168, totals of 6.5 out there right now. Alber, thoughts on the side total where the price is currently sitting?
Yeah, nothing on the side. I leaned to the over here. I started playing a couple unders earlier in the series. I quickly realized that I was just dead wrong on that, and obviously we got a shutout in Game 4 from Stuart Skinner. So I'm probably not going to end up touching that. Again, it's kind of one of those that I'm going to be just rooting for the Oilers. I kind of have some small Oilers in 5, minus 1.5, minus 2.5 kind of stuff. So I'd like to see that end tonight. I'm just not kind of interested in any of this price here.
Alex, anything for you in this game?
Nothing pregame. This will definitely be a live contest for me, and with it being an elimination spot. The third period overs, which cashed very nicely if you were live betting the last couple of nights. That's something I'll be looking toward here. So maybe shop around and try to look for a third period over at 2 at a decent price, anywhere in the range of minus 120 or cheaper. And once you're in game, especially I think we will see more offense in this contest than certainly from the last one. With that under, that now makes it 13-4 the last 17 playoff meetings in the 3 series over the last 3 years between these two teams. So I do think we'll see goals early here, but I'm waiting to just kind of jump in later on in the contest in game.
I'm curious where you guys are at with some of the series prices that we're going to have coming up, whether it be anything that we're seeing right now for these ones that are active, if there's anything that you're getting yourself involved in there, or if you're just playing these game by game. Like, Alex, are you looking at any of these, monitoring them as they go live, switching back and forth with some of the games? There's only a couple of games left in each of these series that are still remaining right now, but do you see any value in any of those numbers?
Well, yeah, I will be grabbing it. I haven't done it yet, but it'll be after the show. But I'll be grabbing Nashville to win series 4-3. Correct series result plus 260. Like I said, if Vancouver allows this Predators team to get some life, and then we head into a Game 7, who do you trust more, UC Saros or either the tandem of Arthur Shilovs or Casey Smith coming off of an injury? I think I'd put my trust more in UC Saros at that point. So plus 260 is a good enough price if I feel like they could win too. Also, like I said, I helped him with a little bit of a hedge. I think futures on Vancouver to win the West in the Cup already.
Right. Alber, are there any other series out there right now that you're looking to reinvest in or get involved in for the first time if you haven't already?
No, I think at this point, the ones that are going on, I'm kind of set on. I'm certainly keeping an eye kind of on the Rangers price next round. I know I'm going to be on an island here. Every other person on the Edgework show is going to come on and talk about Carolina. I'm going to come on and talk about why this series is relatively even. But no, as far as one's currently going on, I mean, I kind of touched on it yesterday. If you like the Leafs, I thought there was an opportunity to get in there. Obviously, with the win, that price is drastically different now. And kind of as you're getting into these game sixes, like obviously the series spreads are just going to match like the money lines and stuff. And I don't know. I'm just not really interested in kind of any of these sides at this point. Obviously, kind of rooting for Edmonton, already rooting for Dallas. Like I'm already on Boston pre-series. I'm already on Vancouver. I just don't really see much of kind of an opportunity to get on any of these here. So no, I'm kind of just going to let them play out.
All right. There you go. That'll do it for today's shows, today's best bets recaps. For our picks that if you want to see them, you can head over to the BetStamp app, find it in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ, so make sure to check that out. For tonight's games, we do have one best bet. We're going to go a half unit here, and we're taking a look at the Dallas game, where we're going to take a look at the first period spread for the Stars, minus 0.5 at plus 163. So Stars first period spread plus 163. That's tonight's best bet, half unit there. We appreciate everyone who tuned into the show here today. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe. If you're listening on podcasts after, subscribe, rate, review, do all that good stuff. It does help support the show, continue to help us grow. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in here today. Matt, Alex, thank you guys for hopping in, especially late notice and helping fill out today's content. So thank you very much. As for everyone else, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So Money, Rusty Bill back to help us break down games, talk about everything going on. See you guys tomorrow morning. Enjoy the games tonight, and good luck on your bets.